Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Show Low City Council to order. By roll call, see that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Leach, who's been excused for this evening. I'd like to welcome those of you who are with us tonight in the audience, as well as those who may be watching at home on City 56. This evening, we'd like to begin with Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Councilwoman Kakavas to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Councilmember Vice Mayor. You can do the pledge first tonight.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for letting us come together tonight and do the things that we need to do for the city of Show Low. And we just ask that you hand us on us and you guide us and direct us in the things that needs to be done. And we just ask you to be with the president tonight as he gives his speech. And we just ask that unity comes into this nation, that God is blessed and continue to bless. We just ask that you be with all the armed forces, let them come home to their families, that have some fun and enjoy life and the privileges that we have that you bestowed on us. So we just ask that you bless each one of us in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Kakavas and Vice Mayor. First item we have is call to the public. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that's within the jurisdiction of the city that's not on the agenda may do so at this time. Seeing nobody moved, I'll close call to the public and come back. Tonight, we'd like to begin here, make a change if it's possible. We want to start with new business and move to item 8C, possible. We have Mr. Steve Klepsa, who's with us tonight with Culver's, and he's from out of town, so we'd like to handle that first if we could. Okay. So item 8C, as a consideration of development agreement with NEAZ Show Low Investment Company, LLC, Culver's, Mr. Muter and Mr. Brown.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Steve Klepsa of NEAZ SL Investment Company is proposing to develop Navajo County parcel number 21203-117B as a Culver's restaurant and other commercial retail space. He applied for a conditional use permit with the Planning and Zoning Commission and was as required for a drive-through restaurant on the C2's commercial zone. The commission granted the conditional use permit on July 24th, 2018. One of the conditions Mr. Klepsa agreed to was to construct a right turn lane off Evergreen Lane onto State Route 260 White Mountain Road if required by the Arizona Department of Transportation or the city. After meeting with Mr. Klepsa's city staff and ADOT representatives, the group determined that a right turn lane on Evergreen Lane and a deceleration lane off at State Route 260 onto Evergreen Lane was necessary to safeguard the traveling public. These additions would allow safer access to State Route 260 for Culver's patrons and to the residences and businesses located off Evergreen Lane, which is currently a city street. City staff also agreed to present a development agreement to the council to propose that the city construct the deceleration lane off of State Route 260 onto Evergreen Lane, since it would be a benefit to the businesses and residents in the area. If Mr. Klepsa would install a right turn lane on Evergreen Lane onto 260, as he agreed to and was required by the conditional use permit. Constructing the deceleration lane at an estimated cost of $55,000 will not begin until Mr. Klepsa commenced constructing the project. Staff recommends approving the development agreement with NEAZ SL Investment Company, LLC, for constructing a right turn lane on Evergreen Lane and a deceleration right turn lane off of State Route 260 onto Evergreen Lane. And staff's available for any questions, and Mr. Klepsa is also in attendance, should you have questions of him.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I'd just like to invite the applicant here, if we could, Mr. Klepsa, to come up and just share with us a little bit about your project and your intentions and things, if you would, please. We don't want you to drive all the way and be silent, okay?
Depends if it's snowing or not, right? I don't know if it's snowing yet. Thank you to the council for inviting me here. As I stated in I guess it was the zoning board meeting, I'm planning to put in a new Culver's restaurant. Has anybody been to the Payson Culver's restaurant? A lot of you, maybe. And so Culver's is a unique. It's a fast casual restaurant. It's not necessarily fast service. So we have a higher grade of products, and we're always trying to have the best hospitality, the best, the cleanest restaurant, and kind of be a step above everybody else. We have a lot of Sholo Pine Top guests that stop at our restaurant every single day, and so it's great to hopefully try to get this project going as soon as possible. With this approval here, it will allow me to I think speed up the project a little bit. We've been talking about it. We've been working on it, and it will help this project quite a bit. But the restaurant itself will be a little bit not necessarily unique to Sholo because you have a lot of restaurants up here, but our claim to fame is cleanliness. Like I said, we make everything to order. We don't make things in advance, and so our products typically are at a higher level. And then we also have custard, and custard is a premium ice cream, which I think will go great up in this area, especially during the hotter summer months. And it's premium because it's made differently. It has different products in it and so on, but very well received in Payson down in the valley. Originally, we're a Wisconsin-based restaurant chain, but each restaurant is owned and operated by a franchisee. This would be my second restaurant, and my format is to go into areas such as this and give you all a higher premium choice. And based on the request by most of your residents that have stopped at a restaurant in Payson, I think it'll be well received. So I'm here to answer any other questions that you might have.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that. Any questions tonight? Any other comments or questions of staff? Vice Mayor.
I just want to thank you for picking Sholo and coming up and opening up your restaurant up here. My wife stops there in Payson quite a few times, so I probably have my first 3 or 4 meals already paid for already. So I'm just, we're looking forward to it. And I'm looking for that seared hamburger, so hopefully the owner will come up here and play around with it.
Absolutely. You'll see me up here a lot. So.
All right, thank you.
What is your timeline for your project?
Timeline is this will help finalize. I'm working with the banks right now from a financing perspective. If everything goes well, we should know by the end of this month and be able to start pretty quickly. So keep my fingers crossed. I'm hoping to start in March. But
What's your
within the next
projected
couple
finish
months
if
for
you
sure.
start in March?
Sorry?
What's your projected finish if you start in March?
It'll be mid to late summer
Okay.
when we'll be open. Probably 5 months. It's about a 5-month. Kind of depends on the monsoons and what happens with the rain and stuff. You guys don't get rain up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly snow.
All right. Look for a motion then on this item. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, so I move to approve the development agreement with NEAZSL Investment Company LLC.
Second by Councilwoman Kukovas. Any other comments? Look for the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Do that pass 6-0. Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight too. Appreciate it. Next item we go back to is item 6. Special events, a presentation of the mid-year financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have prepared a short PowerPoint presentation to put it on the desk, go through with you tonight. So we'll get the screens adjusted here and get started.
Is that it? Sorry, Justin, I'm getting it.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So each year around February, we try to do a mid-year update for the council. The numbers presented here tonight, for the most part, will include numbers through the end of December. As you may expect, some of the revenues and different things, transactions don't always complete through December like we expect them to. So in those cases, I'll try and address where we're at in January if the numbers look like they're a little bit out of place. So for what we're going to cover tonight, 50% is the benchmark for our percentages. We try to break them down by percentages so you have an idea whether we're ahead or behind the curve for where we're at this point in the year. We'll talk a little bit about general fund revenue and expenses. We'll look at the sales tax chart, which is something you're familiar with from the once a month report that we send out to the council with the manager's memo. And then we'll look at other revenues and expenses compared to budget, and then wrap up with a quick look at the debt service. On the general fund revenues, I call your attention to the total down at the bottom. So in all the general fund revenues combined, we're at 53%, which suggests that we're 3.7% ahead of budget. A couple of the numbers that I would like to point out for the ones that are a little bit lower, for the police non-grant, we've actually looked at that number for January and it's closer to 200,000. And what that is non-grant revenues coming into the police department. For example, the billings that we send out for dispatch services. So it's not quite at 50, but it's better than it appears here through the close of December at 62,000. The other ones with the taxes and franchise taxes, with the sales tax numbers that you've seen in the reports, we're well ahead of budget for that. So that's really helped us look good there. With our state shared revenues, this is one where the numbers are lagging just a little bit. The numbers that we do have are in line with budget. We're just a little bit behind on the distributions from the state. On the expense side, again, looking at the totals at the bottom, we're about 42% on the expenditure side, which we're a little bit behind there, which is not concerning. We always have projects that aren't evenly distributed throughout the year. So when spring hits, we'll probably see that number pick up a little bit, but we don't really have any concerns there after doing a review. We feel like we're on track. The one area that is a little bit high is the expense line item for the police department. And you'll probably recall that we budgeted an extra $3 million to contribute to the PSPRS. And that's in that $5.9 million number, which makes it look a little bit higher because it was all paid at the start of the year. As far as the sales tax data, this chart gives you a good idea of the trend. If you look at the green bar in the chart, that's our fiscal year 2019 data. You'll notice that we've just missed $1 million per month for December, but we still had a great month. And you'll look at the first 6 months of this year, you'll notice that we've exceeded last year's actuals in every month, and we're also well ahead of budget for the year. On the state shared revenues, this just gives you an idea of where we were at compared to the budget in a different format than the table, and hopefully a little more clearly you can see the number. Like I said, we're lagging a little bit on a couple of payments on the state share, but those are probably just running a little bit behind, and we'll track those closely. And if we have any concerns, we'll contact the state and follow up on those. But right now we think we're doing okay with those. On the general fund, which also includes the HERF revenues, we're at 34.9%. We actually did a review before this meeting, and that number as of the end of January was 12.8 million, which is significantly higher and well above the 50% mark. Fines and forfeitures are pretty close to being in line with what we projected in the budget at 53.6%. Airport revenue's down a little bit. The bulk of that revenue for this year has to do with the federal reimbursement from the FAA for the runway. And we did receive a couple of large distributions in January, and I think that was, the delay was due in part to the government shutdown. So we're on track for that too. I didn't write that number down, but it was above 50% as well. Our utility fund revenues, both of those for the utility funds, the water and wastewater, are right in line with the budget. The sanitation is lagging just a little bit. That number will also come around with delayed payments, and we feel like we're in line on that one as well. As far as our expenses go, we do have a lot of projects coming up this spring, and we expect to see both of those items for water and wastewater to pick up, the projects getting started. And then as far as sanitation goes, we're looking at some projects for next year's budget to improve sanitation. We've talked about doing additional garbage cans and things like that with the revenues we have built up in that budget. But we expect that to finish below what we projected on the expense side. And then the last slide I have prepared is the debt service. It's just a snapshot of the last 5 years. The bar chart in the bar in blue is principal, and you'll notice the trend forming there is that over time the amount you're paying towards principal is going to increase, and the amount you pay in interest is going to decrease. So showing that we're progressing through the payment process for most of our debt service, and on track to take care of those as they're scheduled. And we'll do a review as we get closer to being in the budget process to see if there are any debts that we can try and eliminate prior to the normal schedule, do some prepayments like we've done in years past. Overall, I feel like we're doing well as a city. We always try to keep track of how the economy is doing. With the budget getting ready to get started, we want to make sure we're in line with what we think is going to happen. So we'll continue to be conservative and plan for what we think is going to be projected from our perspective on how we build the budget for next year. So that's all I've prepared for tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions of council? Comments? Appreciate you and your staff, what you're doing and keeping things going. It's great. Thank you. Next item we have is consent calendar, item 7A. We got study session of January 15th, 2019 minutes, a regular meeting of January 15th, and the joint meeting of January 29th. Look for a motion. Councilmember Crittenden.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Kukovas. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? See that passed 6-0. Next item is item 8A, consideration of the award of a construction contract for South White Mountain Road, Sewer Farmbrook to Park Pineway Plaza, City of Show Low project number S0719, and the approval of the associated budget transfers. Mr. Himmelsaw.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This year's, or the city's fiscal year 2019 capital improvement program budget includes $220,000 for a sewer line extension project labeled South White Mountain Road, Farmbrook Connection. This project consists of extending a 12-inch sewer main along the west side of South White Mountain Road from Farmbrook Drive up south about 1,400 feet across from Park Pineway Plaza. Excuse me. This final phase of the improvements will create two independent 12-inch sewer mains on each side of South White Mountain Road to serve the southern portions of the city. Scope of the work includes installing approximately 1,400 linear feet of 12-inch PVC sewer main, 7 polymer manholes along the highway, and removing and replacing any asphalt with concrete disturbed during the project. The project was designed by city engineering staff with a construction estimate of $227,000. ADQ approvals to construct were obtained, and the project was publicly bid in accordance with statutory requirements. Following results. Navapache Equipment Services LLC at $214,760. Apache Underground Excavating at $227,835. Central Arizona Civil Construction Company at $229,375. Western Grade LLC at $242,789. Schultz Construction at $276,515, and Rolling Specialty Contracting at $307,975. Staff recommends awarding the construction contract for the South White Mountain Road sewer Fawn Brook to Park Pineway Plaza, City of Show Low, project number S0719, to Navapache Equipment Services LLC in the amount not to exceed that $214,760, and approve the associated budget transfers. The bid tabulation is attached, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Any questions, Councilmember Crittenden?
Has Navapache Equipment Services done work for the city before?
They have. It's been, we're trying to recall the last project I remember working on them with. I think it was a sewer line project to get around Cal Ranch a few years ago, but we have worked with them in the past.
Any other questions, comments? I'll look for a motion.
I'll make the
Vice
motion.
Mayor?
I move to approve the construction contract with South White Mountain Road Sewer Fawn Brook to Park Valley Plaza, City of Show Low, project S0719 to Navapache Equipment Services LLC in amount not to exceed $214,760, and approve the associated budget transfers.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Hatch. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See that passed 6-0. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Next item here is item 8B, consideration of ordinance number 2019-02, amending chapters 11 sewers, 12 land divisions, and 14 water of the Show Low City Code, and adopting resolution number R2019-02, declaring as a public record that document titled Revisions to Chapter 11 Sewers, 12 Land Division, and 14 Water of the Show Low City Code. Mr. Cuff and Mr. Trugaskus. There are no shows, so we'll go ahead and move forward. No, thank you.
I apologize, I forgot my reading glasses here. Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the October 30, 2018 City Council retreat, staff presented information and discussed amending City Code chapters 11 sewers, 12 land division, and 14 water to clarify, update, or eliminate conflicting definitions and requirements. A study session was also held on November 20th to further discuss specific changes proposed during the council retreat. At the study session, concerns were expressed regarding requiring a property owner to connect to sewer and extend the sewer line across the property frontage when sewer service is available. Availability is defined as a parcel that lies within 200 feet of a public sewer. This requirement has been a long-standing city policy, but it was never codified. Staff was directed to research sewer connection requirements for other Arizona communities, and staff discovered that the connection requirement was, in some cases, more stringent than the 200-foot standard proposed by staff. Additionally, there were concerns regarding the proposed requirement to extend the public sewer across the entire parcel frontage. After further consideration and discussion, staff recommends that the length of the extension be limited to 30 feet into the lot frontage. This matches the minimum lot frontage as prescribed in City Code Chapter 15 for most residential zoning districts. Also at the study session, the staff proposed amending Section 12-2-6 minor land divisions and lot line adjustments to allow staff to review proposed lot line adjustments. Based on the review, property owners can be informed of potential conflicts with City Code prior to recording the split with the county recorder. Ordinance number 2019-2 would adopt the revisions by reference. Resolution R 2019-2 presents specific revisions with deletions, shown as strike-throughs and additions bold and underlined. We prepared a couple of slides, 3 or 4 slides, to kind of give you an overview of what those changes are without going through the entire quarter-inch thick document here. So we will continue. So the proposed changes to Chapter 11 Sewer, 12 Land Division, and 14 Water will clarify, update, or eliminate conflicting definitions and requirements. 2 changes that affect all 3 chapters: eliminating the term subdivider, using developer in all instances, and providing a more inclusive definition of developer. And also to clarify requirements for water and water main extensions. Specific revisions for sewer. Amend the definition of lateral sewer to clarify that it can serve only a single parcel. If it serves more than one, it must be a public sewer. Define availability of public sewer as within 200 feet of a parcel. Change approval for private sewage system from city council to public works director. We want to add provision that draining an in-ground pool, which can add detrimental chemicals into the system, requires advance notification to the city's public works department. Before that, there was a calculation required to decide whether the amount of water that you're putting into the sewer system was 2% or more of the annual daily flow, which was pretty cumbersome. So, and there's so few in-ground pools, we think it's just notification is required. Will work better. We add a provision that a property owner must extend the public sewer main across the parcel's frontage if there is public sewer availability for a distance of 30 feet and convey any required easements to the city. This would also include any future extensions of easements. So in other words, if someone comes in to connect later on, there will be an easement in place so they can take it across that property. These were some of the sewer connection requirements that we found. We also discovered that a lot of cities and towns actually don't have that availability requirement in there. And the reason we think that they don't is because that all used to be mandated by an ADEQ, it was a
Bulletin.
ADEQ bulletin that mandated that and gave you the requirements. A lot of cities and towns just never, when the bulletin went away, they never came back and changed their code. So as you can see, Prescott says must connect by any possible means, which I don't understand, but I think it sounds like you have to extend the sewer to your property regardless of where the sewer is. And then Globe within 200, Wickenburg 300. So I think we're pretty much in alignment with what other communities we found have been doing on this. So these are the specific revisions for the land division, chapter 12. The first thing we want to do is change the chapter's title to land development. Currently it was land division, and there was some confusion about whether commercial projects and subdivisions fell under the same set of rules. So we want to make sure that commercial development is also included, not just subdivisions.
Do me a favor, take your hand off of that button. This arrow is just jumping back and forth. all
Oh,
over
sorry.
the place.
Can I use my finger on the screen then?
You can do whatever you want.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cause a problem there. We also wanted to reference specific manuals as standard specifications and details. Basically, that's the MAG, Maricopa Association of Governments, and then the city has a supplemental that goes along with that. And then add section 12.2.6, minor land division and lot line adjustments. And this, again, will allow staff to review proposed lot line adjustments and to inform property owners of potential conflicts with city code prior to recording the split with the county. And there have been instances in the past where, I'm sorry.
That seems obvious. There's no fee mentioned. I just want to clarify that review is at no fee.
We have proposed no fees for that, sir.
Thank you.
And again, we have ran into situations where some folks have done a split at the county and then they come back in the city with their split already accomplished, only to realize that it created a major issue for them and they had problems. So we just want to try to help folks out with that. We added a provision to the drainage design that if a proposed project redevelops an existing developed commercial or industrial parcel, the detention requirement may be waived by the Public Works Director if the developer can demonstrate that the impervious area is reduced with the new development. So what we want to do with stormwater detention is we want to try to capture and detain any additional flows that are created from a development. What we find with a lot of commercial redevelopment is because of our landscaping requirements and some other things, they're actually reducing the amount of impervious surface that's going to cause runoff. If that's the case, we don't want to encumber them with having to do stormwater detention. Some more chapter 12. We want to update material requirements for streetlights. And basically what that means is right now our code, I think, says high pressure sodium lights, and we're changing that to LEDs. That's really where the technology is these days. So we want to get that clarified. Correct infrastructure improvement agreement to infrastructure inspection agreement. And that was just something that was not correct in the code that we want to fix. And then on the minimum water main diameter, we call out at 8 inches, but we want to add a provision that a 6-inch diameter pipe may be used with the approval of the Public Works Director if a short dead end line cannot be extended in the future. Basically what that means is that if you don't need a big pipe for 2 or 3 lots and you're never going to extend it, we'll accept a 6-inch pipe. And then also on sewers, we are adding language allowing curvilineal sewers on a case-by-case basis. There's a very long and specific section on what those requirements are. We have had on steep, curvy streets, developers have had to, especially on a small radius curve, have to add many manholes, which are very expensive. So we think it's reasonable to allow, and other cities and towns do allow this, allow them to lay it on a curve for a limited length and limited curvature and things. And it's all very specific in the code.
It should be worth noting that not only is it very expensive for the developer to put in all those manholes, it's very expensive for the city to maintain all those manholes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you know, we replace $100,000 or so worth of manholes every year. So that's very true. Thank you for that. Specific revisions for water, define public water availability as within 200 feet of a parcel. And then again, on the water main diameter, I think this is in here twice, but we will allow a 6-inch diameter pipe to be used on a short dead end line. And then add the provision that the property owner who wishes to connect to the public sewer system, then they wish to connect because a person can drill a well on their personal lot. And that's why we have this language a little bit different than we have on the sewer. Who wish to extend, they must extend the public water main across the parcel's frontage for a distance of 30 feet and convey any required easements to the city. And that's the end of the slide. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
Any questions, comments? Appreciate the work that staff has done on this. I know it's come back a couple of times and back and forth with council members with your input and changes. I think it's we've got it closer to being right this time. So, appreciate that. Councilmember Kelly.
Better than
I
close.
can't help myself, so here I go again. But the purpose of that conveying the easements is for the future extension of that line, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you think it's appropriate to state that? I mean, maybe I could think that just meant convey easement for the 30-foot of main. It's for the purpose of extending that main.
Yes, and actually in the code, it does say that.
Okay, thank you.
The property owner shall also convey any required easements to the city, including those necessary for future mainline extensions.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll look for a motion here. Councilmember Crittenden.
I move to adopt resolution number R2019-02 declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled revision to Chapter 11 sewers, 12 land division, and 14 water of the Shoalo City Code.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Kelly. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See that pass 6-0. This time by unanimous consent, I'll ask City Clerk to read ordinance number 2019-02 by title only, since all council members have a copy.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Shoalo, Arizona, amending chapters 11 sewers, 12 land division, and 14 water of the Shoalo City Code, and adopting that document titled revisions to chapters 11 sewers, 12 land division, and 14 water of the Shoalo City Code by reference.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Look for a motion for this ordinance. Councilwoman Kukovas.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2019-02.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Hatch. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See that passed 6-0. Thank you. Next item we have is a summary of current events. I look to council members at this time to summarize any current events. Councilmember Crittenden.
I want to remind everybody that tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we have the chamber breakfast at Salterra, where businesses can go there, promote their own businesses, and listen to some very good presentations by individuals that talk about things that affect the cities and the counties of Navajo County.
Thank you. Any other comments? Reports? I'd just like to, at this time for my report, just extend our condolences to the family of Ione Whipple, known as Babe Whipple, who passed away last week, and whose husband Winky and son Gary both served as mayors and council members for our city. I think a lot of people know Babe also for working at the Shoalo Post Office for many, many years. The public visitation will be on Friday, February 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Owens Livingston Mortuary in Shoalo. Funeral services will be held Saturday, February 9th at 11 a.m. at the downtown chapel of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with additional visitation prior to the service from 10 to 11 a.m. The concluding service and interment will be immediately following at the city cemetery. A great family, a great lady that we've lost in our community, and I just want to say thanks to the family, and we love you and we support you. She was my biggest fan on Inside City Hall, my Aunt Babe, so I lost the one viewer. Councilmember Crittenden.
I have one more thing to say. I would like to wish my wife, Bobby, happy anniversary. It is our anniversary today, and all I can say is thank you for putting up with me. Okay.
That's great. Thank
How
you.
many?
Congratulations, Rennie.
How
Appreciate
many?
that. Great. Both of you.
Not gonna count.
City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. The council's invited to attend a public meeting to review and comment on potential transportation improvement projects for a regional transportation study this Thursday, February 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Deusa Club's room in City Hall. This is an updated study for Southern Navajo and Apache counties being conducted by a consultant for the Arizona Department of Transportation. If you're unable to attend, you may also review and provide comments online at azdot.com/SNAC, or contact City Hall and we can get you information how to review and comment that. The study encompasses Shoalo, Snowflake, Pinetop Lakeside, Taylor, and the unincorporated areas of Southern Navajo and Apache counties, including Concho and Vernon. So the library is also hosting a Harry Potter book night this Friday, February 8th, 6:15 to 8 p.m., ages 8 to 18. And then the libraries will officially open a healthy living section on Monday, February 11th. And citizens are welcome to drop in and check out a new section to the library and enjoy healthy snacks that will be served there. We also want to let the council know we're advertising for vacancies for the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, Aviation and Parks and Recreation Committees. We have as you know, every couple of years, the council in April appoints new members. Some of the existing sitting members of those commissions and boards will reapply, but we advertise every year in case there's interest from the public, and we'll get that to the council. You'll probably interview sometime after your first meeting in March, before the first meeting in April. We'll get that next meeting. We'll set up a schedule for that. If you want more information on any of those committees or boards, you can look at our website, sholoaz.gov, and it'll share some information on that. Or call us and we'll get you information. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Scheduling of meetings. Anybody have any other meetings they'd like to schedule? Nobody wants to meet anymore. That's fine. No. Appreciate council. Appreciate everybody, and just again, be careful if we get some snow tonight. Remind people not to park on the driveway tonight, just in case on the roads, I guess, in case we get some snow this evening. So, seeing no other business, I'll adjourn this meeting.
Thank you. Hey, Rennie.